Good evening, everybody. Stephen Howson. Just wanted to talk to you tonight a little bit about Jose Mourinho. Now, there's been a lot of speculation around Louis van Gaal, and I'm going to work on the basis of a couple of assumptions here, so just go with the flow with me a little bit. I think Louis van Gaal offered his resignation twice. I think the first time was after Stoke. Obviously the defeat against Stoke, not the one we won. And the second one was after Norwich at home. And I believe, it's my belief, that the club didn't accept his resignation, which I think you could argue was a mistake. The man doesn't believe in himself. Who's anybody else to believe in him? And I was pretty much right behind Louis van Gaal up until I heard about the resignation. Once someone tenders their resignation, then that's them admitting that they cannot do the job. So that's the first assumption that I'm working on. The next assumption is that the club have already lined Jose Mourinho up. Now, if I just look at the facts around this, there's a hell of a lot of smoke. There's this so-called dossier / love letter / future plan outline that Mourinho supposedly sent into the club. That just doesn't get fabricated from nowhere. There's the talk every 5 seconds that someone, George Mendes, is planting to agents and to different people, and newspapers and press, anytime he needs to. And there's the talk that a deal is in place for the summer. Now I'm going to work on the assumption that Jose Mourinho is coming in the summer. I'm pretty sure Louis van Gaal knows this as well. I'm pretty sure that the club have said to him, you're not going to be sacked, but we need you to carry on to the end of the season. I think that's why they rejected his resignation. And I think that rejecting his resignation, they've bought themselves some time. Now, why they didn't accept his resignation and bring Mourinho in, it's not like he's under contract at another club, is it? So I don't understand why they would do that. But that's my belief is that's what they've done. I think they're allowing Louis van Gaal to walk away and probably actually officially resign at the end of the season, hopefully with top 4 in the bag. As difficult an ask as that's going to be. So I am working on the basis that come June, July, Louis van Gaal will walk off into the sunset and enjoy his retirement, and we will be met with Jose Mourinho as Manchester United manager. I actually wanted Mourinho to be the one that succeeded Fergie, that first one that succeeded Fergie, because I thought Mourinho had the ego to walk in straight after Fergie and not care that he was following Sir Alex Ferguson. And I thought that would have been a good way for the club to transition from the post-Fergie era, because I'm pretty sure he would have brought success in some shape or another before we looked to that more long-term manager, whether that's a Giggs, whether that's somebody else, maybe a Solskjaer, maybe a Hughes, maybe it's someone that we've not even thought of, maybe Michael Appleton. Doing phenomenal things down at Oxford. The issue that I have with appointing Mourinho now is that we're about to enter a cycle that everyone keeps telling me this is the norm now, that no manager sticks around for more than 3-4 years, and get used to just a constant rotation of managers. Well, I don't want to get used to a constant rotation of managers. Now, I'm not naive enough to assume that there's going to be another man walks through the door and does a quarter of a century like Sir Alex did. But I would like to think that there's going to be managers with long-term plans that can implement those plans. Because if they're implementing those plans, you would think, by and large, they're being successful. Now, people point to Wenger and say, that's what you get nowadays if you let someone stay for 10 years. I think Arsenal probably could have done with sacking Wenger several years ago, and I don't think his 2 back-to-back FA Cup wins mean that he's now a success. He's not shown like he can compete for a long time, so he's had ample time to make a winning side, and he's not. So I reject that argument that that's what you get with Wenger. I said when we got rid of Moyes, you don't just give anybody time, you give the right man time. And I think, despite what's going on the field, I thought Louis van Gaal, his pedigree and his history shown you that you give this guy time, he's going to be doing good at the club. His history also shows that he pisses everybody off and he ends up getting sacked. And that might be a personal trait that he's got. He does seem to be quite hard to work with, quite tough, quite overbearing. It seems like that might be a Dutch manager trait as well. Ronald Koeman, I believe, is meant to be a very similar vein. The problem with appointing Mourinho now is that that's our fourth manager in 3 years or something. 4 years. And that sets up a precedent because Mourinho's not staying around for 10 years. And people say, oh, this might be the project that is eventually wanted. He was at Real Madrid. You know, he had Inter. You know, he could have stuck around in the first place at Chelsea. All right, Chelsea's a bad example. Possibly Madrid's a bad example because they basically go through a manager a year. I think Chelsea's actually more managers than years on their current record. And maybe you're right. And maybe Manchester United is the place that he can do that. But I've got so many question marks about Mourinho as a manager that I don't think are going to get answered, satisfactorily at least, until he starts work. And I've got worries about him. Now, I'm a big fan of our academy, and I love seeing our academy succeed. And we've got the unparalleled record, 3,781 consecutive matches all the way from 1937, where a youth product has been in the team, in the first matchday squad. Can you honestly see Mourinho paying tribute to that? Can you honestly see him sticking with that? You have to look at his history and say no. And some people can say, oh, well, he's been at clubs that never really had a tradition of youth. Chelsea's academy is absolutely fantastic at the moment, and he's not looked to him. He's got some wonderful players in that academy, and he just does not touch them. His first stint at Chelsea, people were saying, we may as well have not had an academy, because he had no interest in it whatsoever. Now, I hope if he is given the Manchester United job, he's been told, not asked, but told, this is Manchester United and we have to do things differently. If that record goes, I would be more upset than if we got relegated. Because that record can't be replaced. You can't just redo 80 years of history like that. And people might think it's trivial. And yeah, I'm not going to want average players put into the matchday squad just to keep a record going. The fact that we've had youth players in the squad for 80 years is a testament to how good our youth squad has been for the last 80 years. Now people go, when was the last time we produced a Beckham or a Giggs or a Scholes? Well, when was the last time anyone produced a Beckham or a Giggs or a Scholes? You look at Liverpool's academy, what have they produced of late? Sterling? Hardly the greatest player in the world, is he? What's City produced in the last how many years with this amazing academy that they've had and all the money in the world that they've had from the oil barons since 2008? Nobody. What's Chelsea produced? Nobody. What's Everton produced? Alright, maybe Ross Barkley and John Stones of late. Neither of them are currently first choice internationals, are they? They're not exactly what you'd call the great Class of 92 level player. Those players are not really coming through at our clubs. They're being bought from elsewhere. No one is producing consistently players of that ilk. Manchester United are producing more than any other. That's a fact. United are producing twice the number of Premier League footballers than any other club in England. That is a fact. So if United's academy is failing, everyone else might as well shut the fucking doors, aren't they? Because if we're the best and we're supposedly failing, then what can you say to the likes of Liverpool and City who've not even got a year's worth of academy products in the first team? Sometimes they've got 0 matches is their consecutive youth product appearance in the team. So I have gone a little bit off track. You know, that's what I like to do. So what would I expect from a Mourinho United? With this side, I'm not sure. Not sure what formation he'll play. Not sure how he will attack. I'm not sure. But those that was disappointed with Louis van Gaal and called us sideways under Louis van Gaal, I've seen the same people demand Mourinho. And then they'll defend demanding Mourinho, who does play safety first football. I'm not even arguing that. And they'll say, well, he had a record number of points in La Liga. Yeah, he did. And a record number of goals, I think, as well. But he had Ronaldo and Kaká and all the riches in the world with Real Madrid. He basically only had to turn up for 4 or 6 games a year. And he can do that. He can bully the rest of the league and then go safety first against the likes of Barcelona and stuff. Because that's what Mourinho will do. And he is good at that. I'll give him that. He does sweep aside the smaller clubs that he should do. And then he can grind out 1-0 scores when he has to. We saw with Chelsea last year, there was a fantastic side. They won the league quite deservedly. But I love how people completely ignore the last 6-7 months of Mourinho's reign at Chelsea. How it didn't happen, essentially. His record, when you look at it across Europe, with Inter, with Real Madrid, with Porto, with Chelsea, is absolutely incredible. Probably unparalleled. And the home record, I believe it was 9 seasons without losing a home league match, is ridiculously good. He definitely turns his home ground into a fortress. But I just can't take to the guy. His press conferences are hilarious in how bad they are, in a similar way to the way Van Gaal is. His utter contempt for the press is... sometimes I like it, but he comes out with absolute ridiculous shit. Now, sometimes he might come out with that ridiculous shit to protect his players. But sometimes, because Fergie used to do that, he'd come out and have a go at a referee, and then everyone would be talking about him and the referee and not the poor performance. It's clever, but Mourinho's not as subtle with it. Mourinho is obvious with it. He'll come out and just talk absolute garbage. There's definitely something about him and Manchester United, though. You've seen the way he reacted when his Real Madrid side beat us, the way he always talks about us. There is definitely some sort of affinity with Mourinho and United. So he might do well with us. I think there's every chance he'll win something. But from what you hear with the Chelsea players and some of his past squad members, he absolutely works you to the bone and takes all the joy out of it. It sounds like Van Gaal again, doesn't it? Maybe that's just how these elite managers work. I don't know how we're going to perform under Mourinho. And I don't know how I'm going to respond to him being announced as manager, because things like the eye poke thing that happened with Real Madrid and Barcelona, that's what we're getting. We're going to get a circus again at Old Trafford. Now, it might be quite entertaining for us as a fan channel and Full-Time Devils and my website, MUFC Latest. We're going to have a lot to write about. We're going to have a lot to talk about. But do we need that sideshow? I don't know. I don't know how he's going to do with the youth. Whether he's been told that he has to respect the heritage of Manchester United. I don't know. Because youth is our identity. Whether he's been told that he has to play in a certain way. I'd be very surprised if any employers put that on a manager. He does bring back a certain star quality. Maybe. I'm not convinced his signings are the best. I don't know. I would love to have seen Louis van Gaal complete his 3-year project. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. I'm like 90-95% convinced that he walks in the summer and Mourinho comes in. And I think we're in for an exciting ride. And I know the press are salivating at it. And I think this is going to be interesting, the Mourinho and Guardiola thing going into next season. A lot of fans are demanding that we get Mourinho just as a response to City. And I agree to an extent that we have to respond. We can't do nothing. my own personal feelings on Guardiola, despite the fact that the City fans cut up a video of me and stopped it just prior to me saying all the reasons that I didn't want him, like 5 months ago, and are now making out that I wanted him all along. It couldn't be further from the truth. It really couldn't. I think Guardiola's going to get eaten alive. But I have to take my hat off to City because in their eyes, they're doing the right thing for their club, and there definitely seems a succession plan in place at City, and they are planning and appear to be running their club very, very well. I think we need something along those lines ourselves. I think we need possibly some sort of director of football that can come in and help manage. Gone are the days where a one-off special genius like Sir Alex can manage every single facet of a club. These institutions are so large. Unless you've been there for 25 years like Sir Alex was and watched it grown from probably the equivalent of a championship-sized club to the behemoth that it is now, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Certainly one of the most interested and press-heavy clubs in the world. I think it needs several people to do the jobs that Sir Alex was doing, especially in terms of recruitment and scouting. So hopefully we do bring in new faces along those lines. Woodward's clearly a genius commercial director, but we need a football man in to support him. Now, maybe that'd be a job for Louis van Gaal. He's clearly got a vision. He clearly knows how to set up clubs to be successful. And he's clearly got questionable man management skills. So I don't know. I've got more questions than I've got answers. So let's start off some discussion in the comments, shall we, eh? Let's kick it off with youth. What do we think Mourinho's going to do with the youth? And we're working on the assumption that he does come in the summer and Louis van Gaal steps aside. What are we going to do with youth? There's question one. Director of football. Yes, no, who? Ryan Giggs. What happens then? How do you think we're going to play with Mourinho? And six, how are we going to do under Mourinho? Guardiola's had the run of essentially 2 teams in Spain and 1 team in Germany. Barcelona have done just fine and dandy without him. Won another Champions League. Bayern Munich fans are sick to the back teeth of him. City fans are praising the ground that he walks on. I think there's been a 10% uptake in sales of pepperoni pizzas in Cheadle. They're that happy about it. But I think he's in for a shock. I think the Premier League will eat him alive. And I don't think it'll be Mourinho. And I don't think it'll be Klopp. And I don't think it'll be anyone from the big clubs, Wenger or anybody like that. I think it'll be the likes of Eddie Howe. And I think it'll be the likes of Pulis. And I think those will be the managers that absolutely break him. Next season is going to be very interesting. It completely ignoring the fact that the remainder of this season is going to be absolutely wild as well. United have got the entire top 4 to play. We could lose all of those games, or with Louis van Gaal having the best record against the top 6 of any manager, we could win all them games and find ourselves right in the mixer of a title charge, let alone a top 4 charge. So there you go. I said it. I just wanted to have a chat and spark off some discussion in the comments. So if you've made it through to 19 minutes of this video, well done you, and maybe reevaluate what's going on in your life. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Drop us a like if you've made it this fucking far, you absolute nutter. Subscribe if you haven't already. I mean, Christ, you owe me that, don't you, after 20 minutes of waffling? And more FIFA and Footy Manager coming out tomorrow, and all sorts of other shit as well. Thanks for watching, see you soon.